Make that big boss less special. It ain't no game, but they saying welcome to the second level. Second level. Second level gaming. Second level.
Hello, Internet, and welcome back to Codename Morpheus, episode 35. And it's been a while.
As Stained one said, it's been a while.
Yeah.
And now everybody's gone.
I was going Timbaland direction. You went Stained direction. Personality differences. Speaking of personalities, my name is Tom, and next to me is my buddy Keegan, as always. And as I said, it has been a while since we've done our PSVR podcast, which is what you are now listening to and or watching. And because we've been busy boys. We did the Pixel Pop Festival in St. Louis, which is an indie game developer festival, which is the other half of our show. Like, well, I guess they're kind of combined in a way because it's all indie, but you know, it's an indie game based festival where basically
there was VR. There was some. Windows,
some, and also Shark Studio or something. Shark Space Shark Studio.
You played that.
But yeah, so we were there. We were the official video partners for them. So we recorded a fuck ton of videos, about 46 in all, I think, when all was said and done.
Some of them are panels, which you may not care about, but the other stuff is like interviews with developers about upcoming games. And I was pleasantly, and we're going to talk about this tomorrow, so I don't go too in depth, but I was pleasantly surprised with how good the lineup was. There's a lot of great games there.
Incredible time. But we are happy to be back in the basement talking about a beloved PSVR unit and what's changed. So, I mean, this week, I didn't want to do a roundup of like all the time that we've missed because it's been quite a while. So we're just focusing on this week and the stuff that's come out this week, the news that came out this week. So it's all kind of relevant, and it's not something that I'm not going to backdate everything for 3 weeks. But rest assured, this is the return of Codename Morpheus, and of course, we will be going every other week from here on out. So that aside, let's get into it. So let's start with, of course, the new releases. And this week, there is only one actual new release. There's a bunch of pre-orders that have showed up. Some of them may have been there before, but I'm going to talk about them a little bit too. So the main release this week is a game called Domino Craft VR, which is a really bizarre title right off the bat.
So you know how I always say that you need to make a game that makes sense in VR?
Yeah.
As dumb as this makes total sense in VR.
Yeah, you're right. So
like, I feel like I wouldn't play this game if it was not VR.
If you know nothing about Domino Craft VR, don't be fooled by the trailer, which is not the best. Basically, the idea is that you can build a domino course. If you don't know what dominoes are, then where the fuck have you been in your life, and also how old are you? But dominoes, essentially, of course, are little sort of slats that all line up one after the other, and you can build giant contraptions with them and then knock them over, and then they all make this pretty little pattern, and that's the idea. I mean, there is actually a game in there somewhere, but no one does it for the game. So Domino Craft VR is basically giving you a sort of virtual arena in which to make your own domino layout, as you know, colorful as you like it, as crazy as you like it. There's little toys you can throw in the mix. I saw there was like rockets and cars and things like that, so you can have it like the domino like hit a car, and then the car will go along and hit the other domino, and then the, you know.
I just want to say the dominoes, the game was found in China as early as 1120 CE.
Yikes.
So it's common era for
all these games, I would imagine, definitely up there. So yeah, Domino Craft VR, $10 is how much that game costs. I mean, really, if you just want to goof about with dominoes in VR, it sounds fine.
It potentially is as old as the 12th century BCE. Before Common Era.
I'm glad everybody's learning.
Yeah. That's why if you don't know dominoes, you've been under a rock.
Yes, precisely.
Or you haven't ordered pizza.
Or you're born in the last 10 years. Where no one really
pizza.
Plays. No one really
it's what's on the what's on the pizza, pizza box.
Most people with Domino Craft VR are like, a pizza maker?
That would be fun.
That would be fun. Heads up, devs. So yeah, so that's the only one. It's not really contending with anything, let's be honest. But you know, as a goofy fuck around game, it looks fine. So $10, make dominoes in VR, great. Pre-order wise, there's a couple things that are on there that I wanted to shout out. I won't go too in depth on any of them, but here they are. Astrobot Rescue Mission, $40, which, you know, that's the official price for that, which is not bad price wise, I think.
Yeah, I have to see how long it's going to be type thing, or I have to see how, because the trailer is diverse and all that. I'm excited for this game. $40 for me.
6 to 8, I'm good with it.
Yeah, $40. If it's like, I'm thinking traditional like 3D platformer. Yeah. If it's the length of like Mario 64 or Banjo-Kazooie, I'm all for it. If it's like 7 levels or 5 levels.
I think it's going to be longer than Moss, but nowhere near like Banjo-Kazooie, because Banjo-Kazooie was a collectathon to begin with. But Star Child is still there at $40, still waiting for that motherfucker to drop. I've been waiting on that one. Firewall 0 Hour, $40, the big beefy
That's the other
bad
one I'm
boy
excited
of the
about.
year. Everyone is excited about
We
that.
were talking before we started recording that, like, I'm excited for this game, but I don't want to get too excited because I want them to pull it off.
Our hearts
but
have been broken too many times.
But yeah, it's also one of those things where, like, I want them to pull it off, but I don't know if they will.
We'll find out.
So I'm keeping my expectations low.
Track Lab makes some sexy beats in VR. That is $20. Zone of the Enders, $30 is a pre-order. Bow to Blood, or Bow to Blood, I suppose. If it's talking about ships, it probably is Bow. That's actually a sale pre-order.
it's ship,
so that
it's
means
bow.
if you buy it, yeah, you might be right. So if you buy it now or pre-order it now, you get $6 saved. It's $24 if you buy it or pre-order it now. $30, I guess, when it releases. And then another one that you get a sale on if you pre-order it is Torn. 24 now.
That one looks interesting. That's the other one that kind of caught
Torn
my eye.
is a really pretty exciting one as well. So that's really it for your new releases this week. So short and sweet and to the point. Right after this, we'll be digging right into the sales section, of which there are many. Welcome back to the sales section of Codename Morpheus, and there are quite a few this week, so we're going to play the yes-no game, which is the easiest way to get through a large list of sales, where essentially I'm going to list all of the games and prices, and how much you save on each one.
Where
and
the
then
savings.
Keegan will say yes, no, or maybe, or don't know, I suppose, if you haven't played it and you don't want to risk, your...
Angering people.
You don't want to risk either angering people and or your own reputation.
Yeah.
Let's talk about reputations tomorrow. Oh, no, Saturday on the Level 2 podcast. That's a fun segue. So let's get right to it. The first big sale of the week is Arizona Sunshine, which is $16 down from $40.
Yes.
That actually I've heard really good things about lately.
It since the update, yes.
Yes, lots of people have been saying it's a lot better. Moss plus the soundtrack. It's a special bonus edition. $30 down from $35.
I would say yes, but there could be potentially a better sale.
Yep.
So it's like the game's worth it, but I know in the future it'll go on sale for less.
Yep. Unless you really, really want the sound.
Yes.
Archangel, 12 down from 30.
Yes.
Killing Floor Incursion, 18 down from 30.
I don't know. I can't speak to
I
that.
have, and yes. Eagle Flight, 10 down from 20.
Yeah. I mean, it's one of those games that, like, I don't know how the audience is right now.
That's my main
That's
concern.
the part.
I don't think there's enough people to warrant that.
It's a solid game, but it's like, is there still
good game? You just
there?
might not get to play it.
Yeah.
Electronauts, 16 down from 20.
Oh, hell yeah.
Mortal Blitz, 10 down from 20.
Yes.
Smashbox Arena, 6 down from 20.
Yes.
Theseus, 8 down from 20.
Yes, Hidden Gem.
Werewolves Within, 660 down from 20.
Oh, again, that's one, like, I want to say yes because I enjoyed it, but I don't know what the community
I reckon
is
there's
right
more
now.
people there than there is on Eagle Flight.
Yes. So if you're going to try and pick one of the Ubisoft ones, go Werewolves.
That's cross-platform too.
Yeah, and
I don't know if Eagle Flight is.
It might be. The other thing I would say with Werewolves too is if you join there's a subreddit that you can get people to play and get into games. So that's the other thing I would do. Or there's obviously communities and stuff on your platform of choice.
Absolutely. Animal Force, 960 down from 16.
Can't speak to it because I've not played it yet.
You'll get to find out because that's our spotlight this week.
Yep. I know we got a code for it, but I've not played it.
Salaryman VR, 960 down from 16.
Yes.
Ace Banana, 450 down from 15.
No, as much as I want to say yes to this game, I can't because it got monkeys.
DWVR, 750 down from 15.
Can't speak.
Nor me. VR Ping Pong, 375 down from 15.
I mean, yes, ping pong, yes.
I'd say for $4. Why
Yeah.
not? Cold Iron, 420. Blaze it.
Blaze it.
Down from 14.
Hell yeah.
Yeah, great game. Pixel Gear, 330 down from 11.
I'm going to defer to you because you've looked at this.
Yes, absolutely. Dying Reborn VR, 3 down from 10.
I want to say no because there's better games out there.
$3 though.
Yeah, but if you're going to play horror game, like save that $3 for a different game.
Yeah, I'm inclined to say get it for $3. We're gonna disagree on that one, just because the time I did spend with it, I liked, and I think $3 for pretty much anything. Like, I mean, a Subway sandwich is more expensive than this game right now, and you're probably gonna get more enjoyable Well, maybe you don't, but Subway can be pretty tasty. But, leave it up to your wallet. Stunt Kite Masters VR, 5 down from 10.
Can't speak to it.
Can't speak either.
It sounds like it'd be something, yes.
Again, it's like one of those, it's $5, so maybe.
Yeah.
If you're like just getting your VR unit and you need to fill it up with some games, then it definitely
Or as the kids say, it's a $5.
But there are better options out there.
So, I mean, on that list, I would say the games to get this week that are no-brainers are Arizona Sunshine. Moss, like I said, is worth it, but if you don't care about the soundtrack, wait, because I'm sure there's going to be a better sale without the soundtrack included. I don't know what the soundtrack has on it. I've not listened to it, so I assume it's good.
It's nice little Disney ditties.
Archangel, Killing Floor, Electronauts, Theseus, I think, is a big one. Werewolves, if the community is still there, I would say yes. But and then Cold Iron, I think, are like the ones that like no-brainers.
Agreed.
There's a couple like that are maybes in there.
Yeah,
but
I think Theseus, like, you're absolutely right. That is a massive hidden gem. Theseus was one that we actually got early when it came out, and I remember being blown away by it. So Theseus, $8, absolutely. Killing Floor Incursion, great game. I really enjoyed my time with that. $18. Archangel, wonderful game. $12.
As an Archangel, didn't they either just did an update or about to do?
Yeah,
it's like they either just did one or about to do one.
It was like multiplayer or something.
There's a big update that happened to that game.
Animal Force, I will say, is probably worth the $9.60 discount, but you will learn more about that later. And then Cold Iron, of course, absolutely.
I really want to say yes to Ace Banana, but I can't. Because I love monkeys, and I just
one of these days.
Game. Yeah, if it's like 99 cents.
Depends on the feeling. Yeah, if it's a little cheaper.
Because every time I see it, I was like, oh, they look so cute. And then I see the gameplay, I was like, oh man,
I really want to like it because of the monkeys.
Yeah, make a good monkey game in VR. Aren't they making that?
Stick it on the tin.
They're making that one. Is it monkeys? They're making a game with animals in it where you can be an animal. I can't remember what it was.
Well, Animal Force.
No, it was. I'm gonna punch you.
Wow.
It was the Planet of the Apes.
Oh,
you're a monkey in Planet of the Apes. Surprise.
I'd rather Ace Banana.
Yeah, well, I don't know.
We'll find out. So yeah, those are your sales roundup for the week and your yes/no game to go with it. Please do choose wisely. But there's not a lot going on as far as new releases this week, so maybe you can bump up the back catalog a little bit with some of those guys in there. But the fact that there's consistently at this point every week at least like 20 VR games on sale is a good thing for all of us. So there you go. Isn't there one? Hold on, before we move on, I want to say that one of the free games is a VR game this month. They have that VR. Here They Lie. Yeah.
That's it. I was like, I know. There's
Here They Lie is part of the PS Plus bonuses. So that's true.
Keep that in mind.
Technically, that's not a sale.
So it's free.
Yeah, it is free.
So if you want a horror game, there's one. It wasn't the greatest one when we played it.
Gets better as you play it. I've been told.
Cool.
It just made me very motion sick. It could have been because it was early days for me, but it also was just kind of like weird and jerky as well at the same time.
But Here They Lie is free if you have PlayStation Plus. So download that.
Also, the We Happy Few VR experience is free this week too. So.
I haven't tried that, but I have it downloaded.
Cool. Me too. Alrighty. After this, got your news for the week. Welcome back to your news section of Codename Morpheus. And there's quite a lot to talk about this week. I'm going to try and keep most of it brief, though. These podcasts have been running pretty fucking long lately, so we're going to try and keep it short and sweet because, the easier it is to swallow.
Hour and a half is a long time.
More likely you are to swallow it. So, Beat Saber, the much-anticipated game that is finally, pretty soon here, going to get its PSVR debut, has a couple of updates coming to it already, which have been confirmed to be included in the PlayStation version of the game. So we thought we'd talk about them really quick. So one of the things that they want to do right now and have it as a sort of complete one-on-one experience equivalent to the, I guess, the Oculus and the Vive. The people that have a PS4 Pro, it will render the game in a higher resolution and some of the effects will have higher details. So there is going to be an enhancement, definitely, with the Pro.
Which
there.
Makes sense, because it should.
It should normally, but they're actually specific. It's kind of like the Xbox One Enhanced or whatever. They're actually like focusing on
They don't tell you what it is.
And then, of course, there's going to be an official, and this is really great, level editor for fans to create their own tracks, after which Beat Games plans of launching a multiplayer component so players can complete side by side on the same level for the best score, which is how you keep a game like this alive.
How do you play side by side?
I guess like one person would have a VR in one place, the other person would have a VR in another place, and then you would be playing like in the virtual
online
reality side by side. Yeah, but
online.
Like, yeah.
Okay. I was like, wait a second. I was just picturing like couch co-op with this. I'm like, well, you have to have two headsets. You couldn't plug two headsets on the PS.
That would be a little too weird.
How would it track it?
But yeah, but designing your own. I mean, it doesn't look like a complicated. I mean, it's mostly just like two colors and some weird stuff. So it doesn't look like it'd be super complicated to make your own beats out of that. But I mean, this is one that a lot of people have been pumped about ever since the little Facebook meme sort of thing of it started like floating around of check out this lightsaber beat game. And yeah, so the fact that they're enhancing it for the PS4 Pro, and also that they are going to have this beat maker means and multiplayer components means that we can look forward to hopefully a good lifespan of this game and a good audience behind it. So what do you think about that?
I love that. Like you said, that's kind of what, because to me, I think of like Rock Band when I think of music-based games, and Rock Band is cool because the songs you have are super intense, and they're the songs you know. So like everybody fucking knows "Say It Ain't So" because it's the first song on Rock Band 3. Like that's a song people know. People learn songs from those games. Games like this, like Beat Saber and some other ones that have come out, don't necessarily have licensed songs. So how do you make it more fun? And it's similar to like Money Beats. You let them make their own, and you become creative. I like the fact that then you can share it with somebody else and play against them. I would
hope you'd be able to select it online.
That's what I'm saying. Yeah. I was hoping they have a way to upload and then be able to just play by yourself.
Because then people would just make like those nightmarish Dragon.
Yeah, it reminds me of like Super Mario Maker. You have the people that make the auto levels in Super Mario Maker. You have the people that make the fucking impossible levels in Super Mario Maker, and then you have the stuff in between that is a lot of fun and enjoyable but challenging. Yeah. And I feel like that's what this could do really well, is if you have a good balance of that in between for things. And like you hear from your friends, and I know with Mario Maker is similar, where it's like, oh, and if there's like codes or something that you can just share, it would be even better. Like, hey, I found this one.
Little big, just share it with you. Name it, so you would just search the name.
Yeah, but that's what I'm saying. Just to have some way of being able to like locate that track specifically instead of having to have that person share it with you or whatever. Maybe.
Agreed. And there's plenty of potential for different updates to that as well, with like leaderboards, world leaderboards, that kind of fun stuff. All right, next up, Resident Evil 2. Why is it not going to be in VR?
Because it's an old fucking game.
Yeah, kind of. So basically, Resident Evil 2, the remake that's coming out soon to PS4, it's been one of the most requested things. Can
I ask why people want this in VR?
I mean, just because Resident Evil 7 was so good in VR. But I think what people are confusing, and it's actually, we're going to get into it here, obviously, with the news piece, but I think people are just like so pumped about how successful that Resident Evil 7 was in VR that they just want all the Resident Evils to be in VR from this point forward. What I think we're failing to sort of realize here is that, of course, this game, even though it has the Resident Evil 4 playstyle in the Resident Evil 2 world, as in non-tank controls, it's still not first person, so it would be kind of fucking weird. But here's the official comment from let me clear my throat, Tsuyoshi Kanda and Yoshiaki Hirabayashi. So they were asked whether or not the game was likely to get a VR mode or add-on, since Resident Evil 7 made such a good job of implementing VR, and they said, "We're not thinking about VR support currently, given that the camera perspective and the over-the-shoulder choice would mean that VR is not the best way to present the game."
Thank you.
VR doesn't match the vision for us. So don't expect basically a VR version of that. They did kind of say, you know, that they don't expect it to happen right away, which does leave a little bit of like leeway for maybe later, but I doubt it, to be honest with you, for all the reasons above. I mean, it just doesn't make a whole lot of sense to implement VR in that game. I think we all just have to, like, you know, hold it in for Resident Evil 8 and hope that they still include VR in Resident Evil 8. And I think they will, given the success of...
I think again, I'm a firm believer that I hate games that get VR tacked on. If the game is made with VR in mind, you're making different... Like, the reason Resident Evil is first person the way it is because they knew they're going to put VR into it. Granted, they could just make a Resident Evil without VR and it still could be first person, all that kind of stuff. But I think the reason they made one of the fundamental factors to them doing first person was VR. And I agree with them. I think and it's funny because I'm a huge proponent of third person VR games, that being potentially a cool way to experience something, but in this instance I hate when they would just like tack it on, because this did well. This may not do well because you're trying,
doesn't make sense. Let's just have a really good remake of Resident Evil 2, and remember that non-VR games are still cool. You know, I think that's all that we really need out of this.
That's why, like, when people are like, I want Uncharted 4 in VR, I was like, I don't want Uncharted 4 in VR, I want Uncharted in VR.
I want an Uncharted VR experience that is not Uncharted 4.
Yes.
It makes the most sense, and unless you are specifically developing it for the ground up for VR, like Resident Evil 7, it doesn't make a whole lick of sense. So that's my feelings on that, but also, mostly, more importantly, the creators of Resident Evil 2's feelings on that.
People making the game.
Next up, Entertainment One's Secret Location said it will adapt Philip K. Dick's short story, The Great Sea, into a cinematic virtual reality narrative. The VR animated film will premiere today, which is a while ago during this VentureBeat article here, at the Venice Film Festival and debut in the fourth quarter of 2018. Features a poignant storyline, a beautifully animated environment, and a moving soundtrack. The Great Sea will transport viewers to a post-apocalyptic landscape in which the remnants of humanity are ruled over by an all-powerful supercomputer known as the Great Sea. Each year, the nearby village is forced to send a young person on a pilgrimage to appease the mysterious machine, a journey from which no one ever returns. So, Philip K. Dick, if you don't know, pretty prevalent sci-fi writer, one of the most famous sci-fi writers of all time. He did the very famous book "Do Androids Dream of Electric Sheep," which I think is a great title. And he also did this "Looking Through a Scanner Darkly," which has already been a movie. Have you seen that, Scanner Darkly?
No.
It was Keanu Reeves.
Remember, I don't movie.
So here's the thing, though. It was like an animated movie that was like so fucking realistic. It was almost like they took a real movie and they just overlaid animation over top of it. Really bizarre, actually, but one of my favorite movies ever, just purely for the aesthetic of it. So yeah, Philip K. Dick, really, really famous in the sci-fi world. He's up there with Aldous Huxley and all those other guys, George Orwell, etc. And so they're creating this VR narrative cinematic version of The Great Sea. I'm personally pretty excited for this because this is one of the first times when I've heard of VR usage for something that is purely made as cinematic entertainment and not like this is it in 360 trailer. Like, it's actually, the whole fucking thing is an animated thing that's going to be in VR. I think that is great, and I'm really excited about that.
I mean, they have the I can't remember the name of it. They have the bunny thing on PSVR. Like, that studio is known as Pixar VR, and I wish there was more of that. Like, exactly. I watch a lot of 3D movies in my PSVR. Like, one of my favorite movies to watch in the headset is Tangled, of all things, and How to Train Your Dragon, because those are, in my opinion, some of the best 3D animated movies. But I wish they could do it where, like, instead of being a flat screen 3D, it's literally a 360 movie, and I want somebody to do that. It's just probably really expensive to do.
This is what it looks like. It says, The Great Sea Secret Location wants to push the boundaries of cinematic experiences by utilizing film technologies in areas such as editing, composition, and story structure, and adapting them for a new medium, making VR feel visceral. This cinematic language is melded with real-time room-scale characters and environments to engage audiences in a storytelling style tailor-made.
You know, it'd be really, really cool to do, and I just this brain blast moment. You know how we all go to this room that's really dark and there's a giant screen on the other side and watch movies? Could you imagine having a 4D style theater? Have you ever gone to, like, SeaWorld?
Not to SeaWorld, but I know what you're talking about.
Do you know the 4D theater where, like, they have the puff stuff? Like,
you're in the little thing and then the smoke blows at you.
Yeah, have that with, like, VR on top of it. Like, you go to the theater, and from a sanitary perspective, it's gross. But you go to the theater, you put the VR headset on.
Just to release, like, smells and stuff.
Yeah.
To go along with the scenery.
Yeah, and just have that as an entertainment experience. Could you imagine, like, being at, I'm going to use 300 as an example, and having fire or something. You smell the smoke. You can, I don't know if you want to do burning flesh, but, you don't, but you get.
I smell blood.
Yeah. It's a more in-depth experience, and that would be something cool. So I hope, like, there's a joke in the entertainment industry that when porn does it, it catches on. 360 VR, 360 porn is caught on. Like, VR porn, I don't think has. I don't know. I don't watch it.
I haven't watched any yet, but I do know that almost every day there's a post in r/PSVR of, hey, where's the VR porn at? And there are some actual specific websites now dedicated to VR as well.
Because I would love to have that experience, because the
VR porn.
No, the cinematic experience, because we have always said for VR to be successful as a medium, it has to be outside of gaming as well.
Right. And this is hopefully one of the first sniffs of something that's actually designed for that, as opposed to adapted to that and or used just for.
I mean, I'm surprised like a theme park hasn't done it. Like that to me, that's
they have to an extent. So there's
like roller coasters. And stuff. Yeah, but I'm thinking like the theater experiences that they have. Like I said, the R.L. Steins, the what was the other one? I had it, but I just completely lost it. It's a Universal Studios. I want to say it's the Minions, but I don't think that's right. There's one where you sit down in the room and it's a screen in front of you and it just has events going on. It's 3D glasses. But instead of 3D glasses, imagine having 3D worlds. Like, that's so much more in depth. Obviously, with that, you have to be careful because kids and you're not supposed to be under 12. I don't think they have enough research yet of how that's going to affect people, all that kind of stuff. So, but I think it's, I don't want to use the word gimmick because I hate using the word gimmick with VR, but it's a great gimmick for a theme park to stand out with something like that.
And I mentioned it was coming to VR. What I might have failed to mention, I don't know if I did or not, it's coming to PSVR Q4 this year. So really exciting. It's actually not too far away. So keep an eye out for The Great Sea by Philip K. Dick, a cinematic experience fully developed in VR. Really exciting. Especially if you're a fan of like Blade Runner or any of those things. Those are all based on Philip K. Dick. Warzone VR devs did an AMA, and here are the highlights. So this one, I'm going to try and go through a little fast because there's a lot of information here, but I think that Warzone is one of those games that has looked so fucking promising from the very, very short trailer that they released, and everyone was skeptical because Perfect Sniper and everything else that they did. But they have kind of put a lot of those fears to bed in this AMA, which went down on the subreddit r/PSVR. So let's talk about it. So one of the first questions they got here was, when in 2018 is it out? Is it PS4 Pro enhanced? Does it support aim? Have you allowed scalable comfort settings? Configurable controls are, if using moves or following a Skyrim standard, are you releasing in all regions? Have you made sure you filled out all the pesky forms? So, wow, a lot to take on right there. Exactly. And Sin Studio said, hi, we're expecting an October, November latest release on PC. The PSVR version will take a little longer as the process is more demanding, but we'll confirm an ETA as soon as we can. The gameplay is highly customizable, everything from comfort settings to control schemes. The game will feature the Move, Aim, and DS4 controllers. It'll release in North America and Europe on launch day with plans for other regions shortly after. We've already begun the process of releasing on the PSVR to avoid any delays when the game is ready for submission. Another question.
Hold on before we go on, but I like the fact that they talk about that the demand, like the demand to be on PSVR is higher, not like the demand for the product, but the making it, because one of the things PlayStation has in place is you have to hit a lot of benchmarks before you get even released, which I like because of motion sickness and all this. Yeah. So
getting there early.
I don't want to say like it's because I think the Vive is the best looking one because you can use a super powerful PC for it. But I think from it reminds me of Apple. You know what you're getting. You're very well aware of what kind of the standard is going to be for when it comes to the comfortability of playing a game versus like the Wild West that is the PC. True. So I like that aspect of like, hey, it's more demanding going here. But I also think that's a good thing because it's quality control. Make sure you don't puke your brains out. That kind of stuff. You'll notice that the one question that wasn't answered was PS4 Pro Enhanced. So the original poster popped back in and said, thanks for such detailed reply. PS4 Pro Enhanced, ? And they said 100% PS4 Pro Enhanced. Good news for PS4 Pro owners. Okay, so user Shughead, your previous two games were much smaller and yet lacked in many areas. How are you handling such a significantly more ambitious game such as this? And let's be honest, this was the fucking question that I wanted an answer to. And I got a really good answer, which is, we're spending much longer properly creating an infrastructure that's already making the game and its mechanics solid and polished. If we could go back now, our first releases would be wildly different, but would have taken longer to develop. We're also able to afford additional resources now, whereas before it was just one dev with tight deadlines set up to meet business goals, not creative ones. We're developing a game we want to play and won't settle for anything unpolished. Good answer. It's a good PR answer. Good PR answer. Yeah. The proof is in the pudding, but yeah, but I do like the aspect because they talk. I mean, that's true. We talked to devs. They admitted that they were like you have to make games to make money. And I mean, look at, I don't want to call names out, but there's studios that I know that their game launch didn't do well, and now they're either gone or under a lot of pressure. Yeah. To be financially successful. They had two games that were medium success. I wouldn't say they were blowouts by any means, but medium success. And I think. You know,
just because of that, off the backs of that, they've probably A, learned a lot about VR development, and B, do have a little bit more of a war chest now. So hopefully, you know, that leads to big things.
And you learn based on your first few games. So.
Absolutely. User Mr. Tenpenny, would the game be cross-platform compatible? And in parentheses, PC players play with PS4 players. Sin Studio says cross-play would be ideal to maximize the player base, but we're unclear as to whether or not Sony will let us do this. It can be done via our dedicated servers, but we'll know more on this soon. One concern we have is that PSVR players may be at a disadvantage given the hardware isn't as good as most VR PCs, but the aim gun is far easier to use and reload than using two PC VR controllers. In any case, crossplay would still be cool, and if we get a green light, we'll do it. Good answer. User Levi Rules says, how soon until we can see gameplay footage? Not until the PC beta, I'm guessing. I'm very interested in this one. Sin Studio says, you can expect a full gameplay trailer in about 2 months with, yes, footage from the private PC beta coming up next month. User Valor Cohen, looks really good. How are the visuals on PS4 Pro, and is this a multiplayer only game? Sin Studio, we've been working on optimization heavily for a few months and trying to get the best quality output without breaking performance, and we're confident so far. It looks great. No AA issues, and blurring isn't an issue unless you're trying to focus on a target 200 plus yards away without a scope. Still a work in progress. It's primarily focused on multiplayer with planned offline and co-op modes for anyone who wants to do their own thing or just play with a friend. So no campaign, but you can play it by yourself if you want to, or with co-op. The Preacher, who I believe is actually a VR content creator, will you be providing review codes prior to the game's release, and will there be a beta prior to release to make sure the servers can handle the game? Question number 1 answer, we're hoping to get review codes out prior to release, but we weren't able to do this last time. We had to wait until release day. Worst case scenario, we'll be sending them out on day 1. Question number 2 answer, there won't be a beta for the PSVR release, but the PC beta is coming up in a month or so. We're going to be testing with Sony and internally to make sure the servers work out. We're already set up with dedicated servers through AWS and will be supporting several regions.
Do you know what AWS is?
No.
Amazon servers.
Oh, cool. User The Skinny Key says, hello, game looks cool. How do you plan to implement full locomotion with the Move controllers? Sin Studio says, good question. Players who use the Move controllers will have a few different movement options to choose from. They will, of course, be a little limited compared to AIM or DS4 users, but we want to offer the option to play with them regardless. We're considering a few different options now and can confirm how we plan to do this soon. User The Pathetic Shark, will it have left-handed support? You might think it's a dumb question, but after Doom, I'm not taking any chances. Sin Studio says, definitely. The weapon handling is completely free at all times. You can swap hands, hold the gun with your secondary only to use primary for reloads, bolt action, etc. And then another user whose name I cropped out by mistake. I'm interested in a few things. What game types can we expect at launch? What type of game is this exactly? Will there be character customization and progression systems? Will there be aim and move support at launch? And when can we expect to see more of this game in release? Sin Studio, to avoid splitting the player base, we're going to launch with a single game mode. It's a combination of a few different things, but to summarize, players will split up into squads. So far confirmed 6 teams of 5 can play as they compete on a large map over several primary and secondary objectives. It can be both fast-paced and tactical, but we'll get into more details soon. Answer to 2, customization is a large part of the game. Everything from characters, suits, to weapons and attachments. We want players to be able to stand out and express themselves. We already know that Move, AIM, and DS4 are supported, and they're running the PC beta. Will there be microtransactions? We don't have any plans for microtransactions. Items and customization will be available equally to all players. If we ever do microtransactions in any of our games, it'll be cosmetic only and act as nothing more than bonus content, while leaving players with the majority of free content to work with. Can we get a clap for that answer? I think that's a good answer. How big are the battlefields? How many players on each team? And what are the game modes on offer? It depends on how our upcoming private beta goes, but the battlefield will end up being anywhere between 2 by 2 kilometer and 4 by 4 kilometer. 5 players on each team. So far we can confirm 6 teams total can play simultaneously. It definitely is similar to the Battlefield Conquest. AI bots are planned for offline and co-op modes, not the main multiplayer game mode, as that can often require tactical play and bots simply won't be complex enough to execute any moves without endangering the real players. We're developing this to accommodate sessions with as few as 2 teams in a scenario where a lobby does not fill up. That's good news. Almost done, guys. How many people do you have in your team working on the VR development of the game? 1 full-time, 1 part-time, and additional contractors on a per-job basis. We're looking to expand this year, so developers, get in touch with Sin Studio before or around the release of the game to accommodate a series of free expansions we have planned. Again, free is a good word. And lastly, how do your scopes work? Is it essentially like a small zoomed-in TV on the end of a barrel? I've not seen it done any other way yet. Sin Studio says, technically, all VR scopes work this way, so yes. But our long-range scopes are primarily layered to produce a realistic effect with parallax and reflections. You won't be able to use it like a TV on the end of a barrel. So there you go. Tons of information came out of that AMA, which is why we went so in depth on that, because that game to me does look pretty exciting, but we did have our concerns. And,
I still have concerns. Like, they can say as much as they want. I still, like you said earlier, the proof's in the pudding that if this is all true, this game sounds amazing. Again, I've been disappointed so many times with VR that I'm like, I want it to be true, but I'm gonna reserve my excitement until I see it. Cautiously
optimistic. There you go. So yeah, lots of news there. Exciting, hopefully, that they stick to it. And yeah, so that's a little bit of news there about Warzone, which is hopefully going to be pretty cool. Tokyo Chronos adds a limited edition physical PSVR copy to its Kickstarter rewards tier. I'm not going to talk too much about this. I mentioned this game a couple weeks ago, well, more than a couple weeks ago now, I guess. Tokyo Chronos is that Kickstarter, which is a cool sort of you're in an anime, basically, game. We saw some artwork for it. Didn't see much in terms of gameplay or anything, but it looked really cool, and I told you guys all to go out and to pledge if you were interested in it. But one of the tiers they've added now is a physical copy of the PSVR game, which, let's be honest, on a Kickstarter is A, rare, and B, probably going to be worth a lot of money. So if this is something that you're interested in, then definitely dig into that Kickstarter. Obviously, the link will be somewhere in the description. But yeah, go and check out Tokyo Chronos. It looks really exciting to me. I've been super pumped on this for a while. Where are we at? Well, you have it pulled up.
What's as of right now, we're 61,000 of their $75,000 goal.
Close to it.
And it will only be funded if the goal is met.
So we need about 14,000 more to get to where we need to go, but 61 is not bad. So yeah, go and check out Tokyo Chronos Kickstarter. Really exciting looking VR game that now apparently has a physical edition PSVR copy added as one of its tier rewards. Good stuff. All right, and finally with the news this week, Echoes VR. Echoes VR was created by a small studio of basically, they're kind of like I don't know, what's the best way to describe these guys?
Every year, Sony's PlayStation Spanish arms.
Camp. Yeah, so every year, PlayStation's Spanish arm helps out young indie developers looking to bring new titles to PS4 via its PlayStation Talents Games Camp. The program provides selected studios with office space for 10 months and equipment to create titles that will then be marketed by PlayStation itself. One of this year's participants is working on a PSVR title. That title is called Echoes VR, which is in development at a student developer named Rogue Titan Games. It's a stealth experience in which players explore a network of caves infested with monsters. And there's a gameplay trailer, which is boop behind us. It's in first person, and it looks pretty terrifying. You were having trouble staring at the screen even when you were watching the trailer for it.
I was like, nope, I know what's going to happen here.
Yeah, so given the team is being developed by a small indie team finding its feet, you can forgive the fairly rusty-looking animations of environments. Presentation aside, if the game nails the survival aspects, it could be a pretty tense affair, and it's supposed to launch in the first half of 2019. So Echoes VR, keep it on your radar. Definitely looks interesting, and you know, judging by the gameplay, pretty spoopy too.
Making a VR game in 10 months is nuts.
It is, right? Absolutely. So you can forgive a couple things there, and they have plenty of time to polish it, because if it turns out to be something that you know, that Sony's like really interested in, I'm sure they give them a little bit of extra time to kind of polish it up a little bit. So there you go. So that's your news roundup for this week. And after this short break, we're going to be moving into the spotlight. And the spotlight this week is going to be shone on a game that you're probably not expecting. So for the last couple of weeks, we've had some huge releases. We've had The Persistence, which was the game of the month for July, or June maybe. We had Pixel Ripped 1989, which again, huge release. That was a big one. And I have purchased all of these games. I admittedly haven't actually had a chance to go through a lot of them. I'm looking forward to sitting down and spending some time with them next week. One game I did play, the key was given to me by the developer, Oasis. Oasis are a prolific outputter of VR games for PSVR. They have probably 7 titles to their name at this point. But they're kind of, we call them king of the budget game, where most of their games are under $15, but they're a cool studio and they do some interesting things. One of the games that they released semi-recently that came out to little or no fanfare was Animal Force. Now, Animal Force is a tower defense game in VR that is cute as all hell and actually, surprisingly, really, really fun. And so I'll give you a little rundown because I don't know how much you know about this game of kind of like what it looks like and everything. But basically, here's how Animal Force works. You use one move controller. So it's super simplistic. There's not a whole lot of buttons to it. Use a single move controller and you begin life as a rocket. Because why wouldn't you? You literally like fly the rocket by like pointing it in a direction and pressing a button, and you're like, wee! Like you can move it around the place. Like you can, it's very childish but fun at the same time. Like this is actually a pretty solid kids game. So you move your rocket to a location where aliens have crash landed on Earth, and they're trying to like, you'll see like a sort of a light beam, if you will, towards Earth. You put your rocket in there, and then you get to choose your furry little friends that you want to be your animal force to protect the world from these aliens. Different characters pop up throughout the story. You can gain sort of additional things as you go, and they each have various different special abilities. But you have 3 that you can choose from at any given time. So you pick your three animals, and then what will happen is once you actually start the game proper, you're going to get an alien spacecraft that opens up and then gives these like kind of like a rail, if you will, that other alien crafts will travel down, and those alien crafts are trying to make their way to Earth to kidnap the kids. If they do make their way to Earth, then you're going to see another line show up to your left of them taking the kids, quite literally kicking and screaming, onto a spaceship. So you have 2 chances essentially to save the children. One is to stop the spaceship getting down there to begin with. The other is to shoot it before it gets away with the kids. Now, I don't know what happens to the kids if you kill the one while it's holding them and they just fall to Earth, but I'm assuming they do.
They have a parachute.
They have a parachute, sure, why not?
I don't know if they have a parachute, but they have a parachute.
There's no child death in this game. So basically, it works kind of a couple different ways. So as you see let's say you have 2 spirals that occur in front of you, and with these 2 spirals, you know that you're going to start to have spaceships of whatnot coming out. These spaceships will do different things, much the same as your animals do different things. Some of them will have shields, some of them will be focused on rate of fire or larger projectiles, whatever it might be. And you have your animals, but you don't get them all right away. They actually kind of fun float towards you in space, and you have to keep your head on a swivel to see when your characters are going to be able for you to grab, and you literally pluck them out of the air with your move controller. You just have to like point it towards them, basically.
They only come from one direction, or do you?
They all come towards you.
Okay, so you don't have
they're
to, like,
coming at like different heights.
But you don't have to look left or right.
You probably don't have to look around, but you do have to like look up and.
Is there anything behind you? Did you look behind you? Because the first thing I ever do in VR is I always turn around.
I mean, there's like the planet behind you.
Well, yeah, but there's nothing.
No enemies.
Yeah, there's nothing gameplay-wise behind you.
Nothing gameplay useful.
Because that's one of the first things I always do when I boot up a VR game. Be like, what's behind me?
Yeah. So the animals come. I mean, you can actually turn around and like catch one behind you if it got past you. But yeah, the animals come out. You grab them, and then you have two things you can do. You can keep them on the end of your magic wand, which is not actually a wand. It's just a thing that you have. I guess it's kind of like a
on the end of your move.
It's kind of your rocket.
Is it move only?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Good to point out.
I think so. It might be DS4. I don't think it would work well with DS4.
That's what I'm thinking.
It pretty much has to be.
I will confirm.
Yeah, please
confirm nor deny that here in a second. So
it
keep
pretty
going.
much has to be. But so let's pretend that for now it's move. So you grab your little animals, and then you have 2 options. You can keep them on the end of your little stick, and you basically can just kind of move them around the environment yourself towards the alien ships and try and take out.
You can use the DualShock, so you can play. But you can play with friends offline. So take on up to 3 non-VR players using DualShock wireless controllers. So I don't know if the single player has to use the move. It doesn't say. It just says it supports the DualShock 4.
Yeah, we'll keep. I don't want to like confirm or deny that because I honestly didn't get to play the offline mode with the other players. But yes, that is a good point you bring up. You can play this game with other people. So you get your animals, and then they're either going to be stuck to the end of your stick, or you can place them in the environment, which is kind of my preferred method of doing things. Tower defense wise, you really want to have like a flow of like what is shooting at them first. How can I protect the thing shooting at them first? What is my like last ditch thing that's going to take them out if they make it past my first line of defense. So it's kind of strategic in a way, but it's one of those games that you never feel like you got screwed over by the game. You always feel like you could have done better, or you could have placed something in a different area. Each of your animals, as you're going along, has a different power or a different speciality. So you have some that just like have a high rate of fire, some that have a big slow slug, but it does a lot of damage. Others that will create a shield for all the characters surrounding their area. Others that you can actually block or slow down the path of things that are coming down the cable. So you basically start to realize which animals gel better with which other ones, and which ones can place in better areas. I usually have like a lot of fast
Do you feel like
shooters.
it sounds like an RTS is what it really sounds like.
Kind of. I mean, it's more tower defense than RTS, but yeah, I mean, a little bit.
There's
like
RTS elements to it.
Yeah. But what I would do generally is I would have like the fast guys with shields on them the closest to the top. I would have a couple of the slow. They were like, I think they were rhinos that had the slow bullets, and I put them on the escape thing. So if they did actually get a kid, then I want a rhino just throwing out like the heaviest bullet I can to try and save that kid in the last minute. And then, you know, if I did have any of the stoppers of the cables, I would put those down. You get bunnies and stuff later that are like super high rate of fire. Well, actually, the bunnies would send like little mini bunnies to attack them. It was weird. I guess it reproduced really fast and then just
well, you've heard breeding like rabbits,
right? So yeah, so that is the game in a nutshell. Basically, is that you do that. There is you build up to bosses. The bosses are way harder.
So there's 6 chapters over 28 levels, and you face over 20 enemy breeds and 6 boss battles. So it sounds like each chapter has. And
the bosses are rough. Like they're not easy. They do. It does feel like a boss. It's not just like a bigger ship. Like they will chase you around.
It's not just more HP.
No, and they definitely do have more HP.
Well, yeah, but that's not what it is. It's the same design with more HP.
I had like my first couple boss fights. Like I was thinking, oh man, I'm killing it. I'm gonna take these guys down real easy. And then they would just like absolutely fucking wreck me immediately. They would just be like chasing after my animals. They just wreck my animals immediately. So I had to learn placements. Actually, when it came to the bosses, most of the time I found it easier to keep them on my wand so I could keep them away from danger, as opposed to placing them somewhere where they were almost definitely going to get destroyed at some point. But that's the juice of it. Basically, is you can choose where you want to place your stuff or keep them on your wand. You have to lay them out in a manner that kills the spaceships as fast as possible, and you also do have like a last-ditch chance to save the child if they are being abducted and pushed away. Rinse, repeat. But what kind of makes it interesting is that you do get, like, as it goes forward, harder and harder layouts that you have to deal with. So you might have, in some cases, just one spiral. In others, they might be like a very like roller coaster type track that they're coming down. In others, you'll have 3 different tracks, and then other ones will spawn after you've taken those 3 tracks out. And then, you know, it's a consistent kind of like battle to and fro of trying to keep these kids from getting abducted. So, I mean, that's the, this is what, like I said, this is what Oasis does very well. It has a simple concept. It executes it pretty well. It has a cute soundtrack, you know.
And they're not super expensive. That's
no, not at all.
Like the one thing Oasis, I think, does really well is they know what they are.
Yeah.
And
it doesn't mean they can't go outside the shell and start making more and more sort of high level games, but they do what they do very well.
And that's good, because you need to have, like, I look at like indie games, you need to have those $40 indie games, but you also need those $15 indie games. Yeah. And that's how I look at this, is like
example. Yeah.
You need those in the sweet spot of like, I don't want to spend $40 on a game right now. I want something that's fun, enjoyable for a shorter period of time. A palate cleanser, as we call it. It's a palate
cleanser game for sure. It's definitely one that, like, you know, if you are in the middle of playing Resident Evil, The Persistence, one of these big scary horror games in VR, and you're just like, you know what, I just want to shoot things with an elephant for a while or whatever, then you could do that. So I really liked it. I spend way more time in it than I thought I would. When it comes to those type of games especially, I usually usually get turned off pretty quickly, and once they get repetitive, it never really got repetitive to me. It always kind of, they were always just releasing things at just the right amount of time. Like there'd be a new animal every so often, there'd be like new enemies every so often, that it kind of always just about kept it fresh enough that you wanted to keep playing and you wanted to keep persisting and see how far you could get. And the fact that there is a lot of levels as well keeps it pretty good too. So Animal Force is currently on sale. We talked about that at the top of the thing, which is why I said it was worth it. Let me double check here.
$9.60.
Thank you. $9.60 down from $50.
I had the store pulled up earlier.
You're awesome. Animal Force VR by Oasis Games. Really enjoyable experience, honestly. And on the cheap side of things, it's kind of worth it. I wouldn't say that about every Oasis game that's released, but I will say that a lot of them have been solid experiences, and this is definitely one of those. Is it up there in the echelons with, the Persistence or whatever else? No. But does it pretend to be? No. It is a cheap game that is made very well and is fun in VR. It is a perfect game for your kids if you have the kids that are of kind of the right age, that they do kind of understand how VR works, but maybe they aren't ready to tackle some of the bigger, scarier titles with guns and horror and stuff. It is just a cool little game that I think kids would really enjoy. It plays a lot like a mobile game, but in the full VR environment, it's kind of cute. And you're grabbing little, pandas out of the air and putting them in the little battle positions and stuff. Had a really good time with it. So yeah, Animal Force VR, I recommend it. I think it was a good time. I thought it was definitely great for the price range, and that'd be your spotlight for the week.
Cool.
So after this, we're going to be joining you with our question of the week, which you can participate in, of course, in our comments, but mostly it's just for me and Keegan to yell at each other. See you then. So, our question of the week, to top off our episode, is one that I think you will enjoy talking about. I feel like I volleyed this up for you to slam dunk or whatever the fuck the terminology is. At this point in time, as a consumer, is it still worth investing in VR, or should you wait for the next iteration?
Go.
I
would say yes.
Okay, surprising.
Which I think surprises you.
Yeah, absolutely.
The reason being is I'm such, and I don't want to say I'm negative towards VR, but I'm so critical of VR because I want it to be successful. And
it's like your friend that you just want them to succeed. You have to point out their failures.
Yeah, you're like, this is how you need to change to be better. This is how you become a better person, or in this case, a better platform. That being said, I mean, I just told you I haven't touched my VR headset in a while, but when I do touch my VR headset, whether it's that once a month or whatever it may be, like, I enjoy my time in it, and I'm always blown away to a certain extent with it. The problem I have with it is that it's the Xbox problem. There's no big titles that I care about outside of like Firewall and what was the other one? That's it. Yeah. That's it. I know your wish list. Yeah, those two. Those two are the ones I'm like super hyped about. But I think at this point right now, we're at a point in VR where the next iteration, I don't think iteration of hardware is coming anytime soon. The next iteration of games, we have to get beyond the point of looking at VR games as, again, I hate using the word gimmick. That's not the word I want to find, but we treat them as a simple experience and not as a video game. And we need to treat them as a video game, as a full-fledged thing I can immerse myself in. And I feel like those exist with Resident Evil 7, with Farpoint, with
Skyrim.
Skyrim, yes. I have strong opinions on Skyrim because I hate the fact that we ported an old game to make it happen. But Doom, yeah, as much as the control sucked on that. But yeah, things like that, like those exist, but I feel like we're not to the point where we're getting enough of those experiences, and every week it's not bad to say like Oasis Games when they launched the Animal Force, like that's a decent experience to have, and they need to exist, but we need those big pillars to jump or drop every so often to hold this thing up. So then in between those big pillars, you have these small experiences. So not every game needs to be a Skyrim 100-hour game, but I think every game needs to have the level of polish that like you expect from a AAA game experience that's non-VR. So think about what's coming out with Detroit, with God of War, with
Spider-Man,
even the non-Sony ones. Like if you think about like Madden or with Assassin's Creed, like those games visually obviously are on a different level, but from a gameplay perspective, we expect so much more gameplay elements from a non-VR game than we do a VR game that I feel like VR gets a pass. But that being said, I think we need to get to that point. But I will say that where we are right now, it's worth getting into because there's now a back catalog to play. So if you're picking up now, you have a lot of those big experiences to kind of consume at once, and you're not feeling this. We're part of the drip feed of like, okay, now what, now what, now what? If you're buying it now, you have Resident Evil 7, you have Dirt Rally VR, you have all these cool bigger experiences to play, and you might miss some of the smaller stuff. But I don't think that's a bad thing either, because you need to get people excited, and I think there's enough titles out there to get people excited about the hardware if you haven't played it before. It's like the people that, like you were saying earlier, a lot of people that switch from Xbox to PlayStation. I mean, our friend Hayden, who's a diehard Xbox fan, bought a PlayStation, played God of War. Like, he can also then go back and play Last of Us. He can go back and play, like, all these games he's never experienced. It's the same thing with VR. People who have never played VR, they're getting all these experiences new to them, even though the experience like the Batman experience came at launch. That's one that, for me right now, I'm not as excited about because it's come so far with VR. But if you've never played VR, I remember how cool that was at the time.
Yeah.
So things like that. So I think it's worth investing in now. I also am a firm believer that the new hardware will come 2021 if we get a new headset anytime soon, because
I think it'll be accompanying the PlayStation 5.
Yeah, I think the PlayStation 5,
after.
whatever the PlayStation's coming out is 2020, and then the new headset will either be a year or two after that, because I think Sony, what they need to do if they launch new hardware, they need to then have obviously first-party titles to come out.
They have to sustain it for a longer generation too, because this was a sort of a 60-70% through the lifespan of PS4 release, whereas if it comes shortly after the beginning of the PlayStation
that's what I'm saying.
5, it has
but I think they need a year of getting the PlayStation 5, whatever they call it, which based on history they'll call it the PlayStation 5.
PS5.
But I think they need a year of getting that established with non-VR games, and then they'll be like, that way VR can have its own thing. So E3 2020 will be console. E3 2021, I think, will be like big. Like you'll have the launch of. I still believe that Death Stranding will be a launch game for the next generation platform, whatever it is.
I think so.
I do.
Some people have said that recently.
I think it'll be on both potentially, but I think it will be a launch game for that. Because how amazing would it be to have a Kojima game at launch? But then I think 2021 will either be the year of VR, which the more I think about it, the more they might push it back another year, or it'll be like establishing the PS5 as something with a big platform on. Like, these are the games you're getting. Now we can go focus on here because you're getting all your shit that you already know about over here. Because you have to think about it numbers-wise. Right now, PSVRs have sold, let's say, 2.5, 3 million, because we haven't had numbers recently. Last time we had numbers was earlier this year, was 2 million. So let's say 2.5, 3 million, I think is a good estimate. How many PlayStations have sold? 80 million. So you have to satisfy 73.
I mean, we are a small percentage of the overall players.
So you got to satisfy that first before you then jump into VR. But I think if they do it right, they get that done and then jump into VR from a business sense. I should put my business hat on right now, but I'm not, because I'm too in my thought. Then I think we'll be wonderful, and I think it'll be good for the future. But right now, like you say it all the time, and I agree with you. Every time somebody tries VR for the first time, I think they're blown away. They understand what it is, but I also tell people to understand the limitations of it at this point too. Yeah. I think the best iteration Sony can make right now, and again, you've said it for a while, is Move 2.0 with the joystick. Give me some way of movement that's the aim, with it being in two hands, and I think then I think we're fine.
I'm still kind of shocked that hasn't existed yet.
Yeah, remember when you kept saying it's coming? This is the announcement.
And I was I'm genuinely shocked that it hasn't yet.
Remember that picture of a developer that you're like, this is the Move 2, and I was like, no, it's not.
Obvious thing they could have done.
Well, the question is, are they? The thing is, are they working on making Move 2 with the light balls, or are they making something specifically for VR that they're R&Ding from the ground up and whatever it may be?
True that.
So that's the question.
Knowing Sony, it's the second one.
Because they retrofitted, in my opinion, the Moves to fit with VR.
Yeah.
Versus
they had let's be honest, they had a factory fucking load of those things. Yeah. And they needed to do something with them.
Because if they come out and they drop this amazing product, cool. If they come out a year from now and they drop Move 2, which is just the stick with the thumb stick on it, people would be very upset.
I think so.
So
I agree with that. Yeah.
But yeah, I think investing in VR right now is worth it, but you also have to understand the limitations of a first generation anything.
I think that's a great answer, and I think that the reason why I brought
Are you
this
surprised
question,
by my answer?
I am, yeah, a little. I thought you were going to be like, nah, don't bother.
I think though we are still at the point where we don't know whether VR is going to sustain itself.
Yeah, no, I think it will. I think ultimately VR has to come out on top because there's too much that's into it at this point. I think it will succeed. Now, whether it succeeds in its current iteration or not, I don't know. But I do think that at some point, VR will be a thing because it's too wanted by everyone to not eventually succeed. I just don't know if the current
I think
generation of it.
AR is going to push. I've said this before. AR I think will push quicker than VR because of.
But they're all rolling into each other eventually.
Well, VR you're closed off from the world. AR you can at least see the world around you. That's why I think people
what I'm saying is the success of AR will only further help.
But I think based on obviously with getting Apple involved and getting other developers like the Windows mixed reality, even the new Vive has a way to see the real world in front of you with the game. Like, I think AR is getting more of a push now. Yeah, because I think people are still concerned, and it's a legit concern of being completely isolated from the world you're in. Yeah, which is good and bad.
I think so. My kind of thought and take on this, and the reason, like I said, the reason why this was our question this week, I was digging around the forums
because Tom wanted to make me yell at him.
No, I try to avoid that where possible. I just wanted to give you a platform. So I was digging around, and that question actually came up from someone in a forum I was on, and it was like, with the PS5 and the potential for PSVR 2 right around a corner as far as years go, is it worth dropping the money on this unit right now? Or not? And I thought that was a solid question. I would probably ask that question if I was this far down the road. If I wasn't so invested already, I would totally ask that question. So I figured some of you guys might have that question, and I figured we'd answer it. So my thought process was this, is that right now, PSVR is not as expensive as it was at launch. It was a $500 product at launch for us. They've dropped it, what, is it $300 right now, pretty regularly?
But that does not include the moves and all that. Okay. So that's just the headset.
So $300-$400, and it goes on sale semi-regularly, right? Like semi-regularly, so, like Sony will be like, this $200. I've seen it as low as $200. And that is definitely the best time to buy it, hands down. But I think that with the money that you're putting into it, if you're only in the $300-ish price range, with the back catalog that's available, which is the part that you said that I like the most, yes, it is. Because it's not like those experiences are going away. They're still going to be in the PS store tomorrow and for a couple of years and until the PS4 store shuts down entirely, which will be a long time, probably.
Well, the other question is when the PS5 comes out, will they just push everything? Like, is it going to be a big platform change, or is it going to be the PC style?
You can still get PS3 games now digitally when they release.
Well, that's what I'm saying. Like, I'm hoping they do what Microsoft is doing, where it's like, hey, you still have these. Well, you can't play PS3 games on your PS4.
No, but you can still get digital PS3.
But that's what I'm saying. Like, I'm hoping they do the PC style thing where it's like it's a more powerful machine, but you can still play your PS4 games.
I hope so too, just because the amount of invested in this fucking console. But I would never sell it at this point, just because.
The other point I want to make is I looked up. I couldn't remember. I knew it was 2016. Couldn't remember the release date. So we're coming up shortly on 2 years of PSVR. It's October 13, 2016 was launch date. It feels like a lot longer because we've heard about it for so long.
It really does.
But if you think about it, we're coming up on 2 years. If the PSVR, let's assume 2020, go with me for this, 2020 is PS5, 2021, 2022 is PSVR 2. So we're 2 years in, 2021 is still 3 years away, so you're not even halfway in the life cycle. 2022 is 4 years away. So if you look at it that way, we're not even halfway through the potential life cycle of this thing. Yeah. So I that's why I'm like, they're at least gonna, again, I don't know what the future of VR holds. I want it to be successful, but they're at least gonna hold on to this iteration and keep making stuff for it to try and make it successful. Yeah. And I think they are gonna do a Gen 2 because most people know Gen 2 is when a lot of people jump on board because they make improvements to things that happen.
And they'll have the power of the PS5 to support it. Which
that instead of having a breakout box.
They don't have to have a breakout box and all that other stupid shit. But yeah, I think with those experiences,
people who think that wireless PSVR is on the way, I think are in Fantasyland right now.
I don't think it's going to happen. But with the experiences that currently exist on the system, I think the money is well spent. I think that I honestly. The PSVR demo update for Resident Evil 7 made me go, this was worth it. And that was a free demo on a unit that admittedly we didn't pay for, because the our loyal Legion paid for it. But it made me think that experience alone was worth the price of entry. And we've only really gotten better from there. I mean, there's definitely been some lemons. Let's not sugarcoat it. There's been some games that should have done a lot better than they actually did that came out. But for all the experiences that I've had in VR that have felt like I actually went through that experience, whether it be the Baker Mansion or Skyrim or whatever, Tamriel, I think it's worth it. And I think I'll still keep saying that probably all the way up until even the next release, because even if the PSVR 2 is around the corner, there's still, like, unless it's backwards compatible, like we said, there's still a fuck ton of things that are worth the price. And I
don't think the PSVR 2 will be backwards compatible. There's an article right here in Tech Radar, and I agree with their statement of, like, PSVR 2 will be a PS5 exclusive system. The reason I think that is that way it doesn't hold developers back.
Right, so they don't have to develop for both platforms.
Yep. Yeah. So as much as it sucks for that aspect, I think, but the question is, will PSVR 2 games work with PSVR to a certain extent, or will PSVR 2 run PSVR 1 games? If that's the case, then I think we're good. I think it'll be the other way around.
Yeah. I think it'd be possible to be the other way around. At least I would hope not.
Yeah, especially if it's PS5
I wouldn't want to give people a degraded version.
But if you think about that, then with PSVR 2, again, we're talking about the back catalog that's already there for those people. Right. So you don't have PSVR 1. You get PSVR 2.
That's a good point.
You have the back
honestly, it's like
play.
information based to actually answer that question fully. But as of time of asking the question, yes, I think you should still go out and buy a PSVR if you haven't already, because there is a fuck ton of really, really enjoyable virtual reality games out there. And that's
and for different people. The one thing I think I'll kind of, the pushback I have, and you've said it before to me, is like, if I was a horror fan, to me it's no brainer to get it. But as somebody who does not play scary games, like, I want a good AAA experience type game that is not horror, and I don't think anybody's really done that. I mean, Skyrim is still scary because you're fighting dragons and shit.
Yeah.
But like, there's no like a Mario style game. Like, there's no happy, cheerful, like 3D experience or a AAA experience of that.
Yeah.
And I would love something like that. It doesn't necessarily need to be a 3D platformer or anything, but that just the fun games that a lot of platforms have. I mean, look at.
I mean, it excels at horror because horror is about atmosphere.
Yeah, I mean,
that's how it boils down to.
I keep comparing to Nintendo, but like Firewall looks interesting. That could be potentially a game for me. And if that game does what it says it's going to do, that'll be my Resident Evil 7.
Yeah.
Because I love Rainbow Six Siege. I love that tactical shooter. I love online games. Like, it checks every Keegan box.
And the aim is a fantastic control.
I need to get one if it comes out. Yeah. The only box it doesn't check is I love my cartoony graphics, but a game like that doesn't make sense to be cartoony unless you Splatoon it or something like that.
Yeah.
So,
but it opens the door for clones.
Yeah.
Of a potential cartoon.
But I just if that game does really well, that'll be the game to me that'll potentially be the game of the PS as of every game we know right now, the PlayStation generation, PSVR generation.
I hate to do this to you developers, but really, the success of PSVR kind of depends on Firewall 0 Hour being great.
I don't think so.
I think it does. I think if that game bombs, I think many.
So there's a difference between being great and bombing.
Well, no, you know what I mean. Like,
I think if it's solid,
it flops.
Yeah.
Like,
if it flops
on every front,
if it flops, it's a different story.
We're in trouble.
Yeah, if it flops, it's bad.
But I think if it's good and or passable,
yes,
then we're doing great.
Yep. I would love it to be great.
Yeah, me too.
But
me too.
I'm not getting my hopes up because of different things that have happened throughout the last few years here. So the last few months.
Supermassive. You need to come back strong, boys. You really do, and girls. I don't know.
Well, again,
which developers they have, but
and I don't know whether it's again expectations that we're setting up of like, oh my god, this is so cool.
I think they set their own expectations on that. But we still have things like Blood and Truth coming from London studios. It's supposed to be like redefine that type of gameplay. So there's a lot on the horizon. But let's just say for the time being, yes, going at a PSVR headset and watch our show next week. Because this is the end of this one. Fuck it. I keep forgetting.
Every other week.
Codename Morpheus. This has been episode 35, and we'll see you in a couple weeks with episode 36. Thank you so much for watching. Of course, if you want to just listen to the audio version of this, you can hit any major podcaster, Google Play, Apple Podcasts, Stitcher, SoundCloud. We're all up on there, all up on the interwebs, as Ninja would say from D outward. And of course, you have our new website now, which you may not have known about. We have level2gamers.wordpress.com, which will be eventually just level2gamers.com. I think
it's a soft launch at this point.
It's a soft launch. We're basically putting in a little bit more time and effort into covering media as a whole. I don't mean like non-video games. I just mean like covering more smaller news stories.
You put it best when you text me, because it was funny. I told you about it, and I did this on a whim. And you're like, you want to be like IGN of indie games in VR, and I was like, yes. Like that's as much as IGN gets shit. Like they cover a lot of stuff. Yeah. Pretty efficiently, or Kotaku or a Polygon or any place you follow.
That's kind of the end goal is for indie IGN, but without the blatant plagiarism.
Yeah, we'll talk about that on Saturday.
More about that on Saturday. We love you guys so much. Thank you for sticking with us. We realize that we do have kind of two primary audiences, VR and indie. The indie guys have been loving the last couple of weeks because they got all the pixel pop stuff. The VR guys have been drained a little bit. So thank you for watching the newest episode of Codename Morpheus, and hopefully a bunch more VR coming to the website soon. Keep the subscribe button checked. We love you guys. Thank you so much for watching. And as always, welcome to the second level.
Bye.